beaches around the Caribbean. Last month, the seaweed grew to over 37 million tons, and the amount is expected to grow even more this month. Smaller amounts also appeared in the Florida Keys, southeastern Florida beaches, the Mississippi Delta, and the Texas coast. Some resorts in the Caribbean are placing nets and buoys off the coastline to prevent the seaweed from covering their beaches. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Amazon expanded its cloud computing infrastructure and artificial intelligence activities into a rural North Carolina county. The company said it intends to invest $10 billion toward building a campus in Richmond County that will bring a shot in the arm to a region where textile and apparel jobs all dried up about a generation ago. More on these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Vote for me, oh, such a breeze. It's just another word for nothing left to lose. Over me.
All right, folks, you certainly know what that theme song means by now. That's right. It's time for another episode of America Matters. I'm your host, Leo Zacky, with Sparkle Soojian today. I'm so glad to have Sparkle with us today. She's fantastic. She's from Fresno. She lives in the Clovis area, where a very hot topic that we're going to discuss about, well, transgenders in sports is. But before we jump into all that, I want to give a big shout out, hello, welcome, and thank you to all our listeners out there, especially the folks on 93.7 KPGF as well as AM 1060, and all the folks out there listening on Radio for America, the Answer Network, the Kevin Jackson Network, the Salem Network, and of course, AUN Television. Thank you so much to all of you out there who are tuned in with us, and also to all the folks on those respective networks that help broadcast this, so all of you get to hear this really great information and the truth that we're putting out there. Also, don't forget, folks, you can always go to Zacky Radio on YouTube or Rumble to listen to the show live there, watch it, comment, re-record it. Hell, even better, share it. Make sure you do. And also go to the America Matters Media's Facebook or LinkedIn page to watch the show and share and like it there as well. So, what do you say to a 17-year-old girl who's basically trained her entire life? You know, she just crushed her personal best, and, well, guess what? She still lost her shot at state because, well, the person in front of her wasn't a girl. You know, it's not inclusion here. It's that they're allowing this erosion of success for women. And it's happening right here in California. And in today's episode, we're going to hit it hard. We're going to talk about what's going on with this A.B. Hernandez controversy at the Clovis State Track Championships, where, Sparkle, you're from, and this just happened this past weekend, and it's really awful how this is all taking away opportunities from women. But a biological male competed against high school girls and qualified for the finals, and wound up pushing young women out of the race that they had earned to be a part of. Sparkle, you know, how you're a woman, right? I mean, at least you appear to be one.
Oh, I'm genetically a woman.
You know, what does this say to, like, all the young girls out there? You know, when you have a man or a boy or whatever competing in women's or girls' sports.
I think this is such a tragedy. I mean, I remember growing up, and I'm 5'3". I'm already short. I was shortest in every sport. I already had a big disadvantage. And so I can't even imagine having to compete against a biological man. I mean, it's heart-wrenching. And, you know, I think we're going to hear about a lot of disappointments and potentially, you know, suicides out of this, because think about all these girls that have tried so hard and they're going to lose that spot. And I'm really scared about what can happen.
I hope that's not the case.
I hope that's not the case either. But we always heard about the other side, that these people were being bullied and that led to all these problems in their life. What about the girl that's doing everything they can? You can only do so much, but you can't compete against women your own size, shape, gender. Can you imagine having to compete against a man, and then when you don't and you feel useless. I mean, this hits me so hard. You have no idea. Like, this is just really just gets chills up my spine.
I think a lot of women feel the same way, that, and for me as well, I see these young athletes, these young girls losing out on opportunities and scholarships because we're enabling this confused, mentally ill person an opportunity to feel included, which I find so, it's oxymoronical in a way. You know what I mean? Like, if you really wanted to feel included, well, just be a guy. Even if you're a gay guy, who cares? Just be a guy, compete with men. But, in the argument that they always say, oh, well, women can do anything a man can do, the same. They're all equal. It's perfectly equal. No, and I'm pretty sure the Army and the Marines and Pete Hegseth have clearly displayed with the facts that there are physical differences between men and women from a physical standpoint. I mean, you're also a personal trainer, right? So how do you feel about that, someone who's in the fitness world? I mean, do you disagree with that, or?
No, I mean, that's why we're not even allowed to be on anabolic steroids and compete in these sports. So are they going to allow that too eventually so we can outcompete the men? I mean, at what point do we draw the line and say enough is enough? It's no drugs, no matter what, and we can't do the same thing with men and women. And what about all these men that are becoming women that are becoming men? Are they going to start playing football for the NFL? I mean, how far is this going to go? Or wait, it's just one-sided. Only the men can become women and compete against women because they have a shot, and we can't do the same. I mean, so this isn't equality at all. This is terrible. This is the most one-sided, terrible thing ever. And the little girl in me cries about this, like really cries, because I think there's that little kid in all of us that remembers those days. And like I said, the run to the litter, trying to, be my best self in gymnastics, just trying over and over hours, countless hours, just trying to be the best at your sport, and seeing that someone could just come in and take your victory away. It's devastating.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that somebody just who shouldn't be in that, it's like, you ever play a league sport, anybody out there? And, there's always that ringer on the other team. And it's like, dude, this guy shouldn't be playing with us. They're way too good. That's we can't compete because they're too good. They're out of their league. That's what's going on here. So look, we're going to continue this conversation when we get back. Hopefully Wyatt can join back up with us. I'm Leo Zacky. Today joining me is Sparkle Soojian. This is America Matters. We'll be right back.
In northern Nevada, there's a one-of-a-kind home that provides temporary overnight lodging when veterans or family members are receiving medical care in the Reno area, some from hundreds of miles away. Too often, overnight accommodations are a financial and logistical challenge. Stephanie Tanksley and her husband are veterans who come for treatment from Bishop, California.
We were lucky enough to be connected to the guest house so that I could stay for 10 nights when my husband was in the hospital. So I was able to visit him every day. It was just a blessing.
Veterans Guest House is privately supported by individual and community donations from people like you who recognize our responsibility to support our heroes. And no government money is received for day-to-day operation of the house.
Please support this organization. The Veterans Guest House is an amazing resource for veterans. Supporting this organization is one of the best ways that you can donate your time and your money just to help our veterans and their families.
Find out how you can help at veteransguesthouse.org.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky, and joining me today is Sparkle Soojian, the famous Sparkle Soojian of Everything Sparkle there in Fresno. She's fantastic. We've been talking about what's going on in Clovis in this recent track event where the transgender person, A.B. Hernandez, interesting choice of letters, competed and basically left these girls that have trained their entire lives, their young adult lives, or whatever childhoods, and basically made them miss out on opportunity. And President Trump has been talking about this too. He responded with a call saying it's a disgrace, and he promised to cut off funding to schools that push this agenda. And we're going to talk about that, the hypocrisy of Gavin Newsom as well, because this guy, he's always been promoting it, but now all of a sudden he wants to change his tune because he thinks he's got a shot at being president. I don't think so. So I wanted to talk a little bit more, just give you a little bit more background on who Sparkle is real quick. She's obviously got a fantastic TV show there in the Fresno area. If you haven't heard it, it's Everything Sparkle. I got to be a guest on it about 3 years ago. She's very active with the show. It's very well put together, and she's a great interviewer. Now I've kind of got a little bit of a chance to co-discuss issues that are relevant in today's world with her. And by the time she was 20, she'd already had published over 100 articles. And like I mentioned earlier, she's a personal trainer, so she might know a thing about the biological differences here between men and women. She's an actress. She's a model. She's also a bartender. So no Nancy Pelosi. You can't have her. I know you're basically pickled at this point. But she also is an FPU alum, So tell us, a little bit about what it's like being all these amazing accolades, but being a woman and not having a man take that away from you.
I mean, that's what we've been fighting our whole lives for. And that was the whole thing. I mean, this world was supposed to be getting more into that way. We're finally trying to get more equal pay, more of this, more of that. And now that men could put on a dress and beat us at our own games, I mean, where is there to go? We're really reversing the clock here. I mean, I was here, back in March, I think is when I first came on this program with you, and I can't believe in just a couple short months we're here. I feel like we just keep on going lower and lower. I don't know when you're going to become governor because it's not soon enough. Come on already.
I know. Look, we are trying really hard here because I think a lot of people are fed up with this whole woke agenda and pushing this transgender nonsense in sports because, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't care how you slice it. It's somebody who is not that sex biologically. And I don't care what drugs or hormones you pump into a person's body. It's just not going to change a person to where their physical biochemistry is going to alter. And because biologically men are stronger, the whole hunter-gatherer thing back in the day, men would go out and chase down woolly mammoths and the women, they would keep the home, raise the kids, go get the berries or whatever, there's a reason for that. Men are, that's why you had men that were gladiators. I don't think there was any women gladiators back in the day. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I would have heard about that. And I don't care what Disney remake will tell you that it is true, because that's just simply not the case. So when it comes to women, we've been supporting women in the workplace, right? I mean, I think women, are better off taking care of a family and not getting promised this whole, I can do everything and anything and I'll be the strong independent. Not that you can't. It's just we lose the nuclear family component on that. But what I'm getting at is these girls who are training their whole lives in track and field or swimming or golf or whatever it is, whatever athleticism that they're doing. When a biological male comes and competes against them and then beats them, and they're always getting first place. I mean,
always. It seems. I mean, yeah.
You're never hearing about the transgendered, quote unquote female that comes in second place. You don't hear about that because biologically men are just so physically superior. And
it's just facts. Science is science. We can never argue with science.
Right.
I mean, I wish we could. I wish things were different. It is what it is. Life is what it is. Like,
right, is what it is. But it's the girl that should have placed third that's now placing fourth. You know, she's the one that's missing out on a scholarship opportunity. You know, that's the killer in this whole thing. It's because she's worked so hard, so incredibly hard, and some guy shows up and takes that away from her. I just don't understand all that. You know, why isn't this a debate? Why isn't this up for discussion? You know, I don't understand it.
Why isn't Newsom doing more and stepping up like he said he was going to do? Why, and everybody in Clovis rallied around. Clovis did not want this. I can tell you Clovis is a very conservative town. I know everybody that was against it, everybody that did something, that marched, that put something out there. It was like the whole town. This is like you were trying to create a whole town and turn it into some weird agenda that we just didn't want that. We're a very simple town. It's very just... the nuclear family, everybody works hard. And so nobody wanted this. I mean, at what point can we even say as a town, as society, we don't want this here? At what point do we have any rights at all? I don't understand that.
Yeah. That's funny how you mention it like that. When you phrase it like women's rights, right? Don't the women have the rights to fair competition? Don't they have the rights to their own bathroom in a safe place? Don't women have that?
Right.
Right? But when you all of a sudden you put on a little bit of makeup and, whether you lop off body parts or not, claim that you're a woman, that's taking away from actual women.
Taking away from actual women, yeah. Absolutely. And then what about the tomboy? Now it's like, it's always been hard to kind of be a tomboy in this world because, it's like, oh, you're a tomboy, so you must be a lesbian, like whatever. And now we can't even, now as you're a tomboy, they're going to think you're straight up. We're like, we have where can we go from here? But like I said, the sadness and desperation that, all the things we struggle with already is just getting worse and worse and worse. Like, when are we going to have our day or just have a chance?
I love tomboys. I grew up with a couple of tomboys. Right? I played baseball with a tomboy. But that doesn't mean they're lesbian. They just like to have fun and do that stuff. And it was Little League. This isn't like I'm going to college on this. We were like, what, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old? Like, so what? But when you're talking about competing in like, high up levels, especially under things like, the CIF, right? Which is backed by Sacramento, where students can compete in sports based on their quote unquote affirmed gender identity. What they're competing in these high school levels, this is all in prep for college. All right. The colleges are going to go and say, how'd you score in that track meet? Oh, you came in fourth, but you can't explain the asterisk. Well, yeah, I came in fourth because this guy showed up and got first place. Otherwise,
how do you get to put that on that's a really good point about where do you get to put that on the application? Like you don't. And then if you do, you might be the bad guy for, you know what I mean? Like at what point can you say, hey, no, I can't. I mean, that's what it's getting so disheartening. Like I'm really worried about what's happening. And I mean, there's a lot of alternatives. Why can't we have a Special Olympics for them? There's Special Olympics for people that cannot physically compete to a level. So why can't there be a Special Olympics for transgender people?
Right. Because, if you had regular people competing in the Special Olympics, right?
That would be so messed up.
It's the same.
Can you imagine?
I don't understand. What's the difference here?
What is the difference? I don't understand.
What's the difference between regular Olympians competing in the Special Olympics to win gold? And they're like, well, I identify as somebody with autism, or I identify as somebody, who's got some, illness like that. Now I can compete and I'm eligible for the prize money in the club.
That's a very good point because that is a slippery slope these days too. About then you said autism. I mean, yeah,
everybody's got it apparently nowadays,
we all have
right?
Autism,
Everybody. Well, it's not the vaccine, Sparkle. It's just they're better at diagnosing it. That's what it is. That's not true. It's 100% the vaccines. And they love to push drugs on kids because it's money. It's all about money. They don't care about you. But getting back to what I was saying about, the CIF guidelines here that Sacramento is all about. So their affirmed gender identity allows them to compete in whatever sport, period. So any male athlete can declare themselves a female, enter girls competition without the surgery, without the hormones, without medical review. You know, tell me how that's science, because it's not. It's social engineering, and now it's costing these girls their championships, and it's costing them their scholarships. It's costing them their dreams. I mean, think about it. How did we get here? How for years Democrats have sold us on the lie that this is about inclusion, right? Doesn't sound very inclusive to me. I mean, you got to include. They feel like a girl. You have to make them feel like a girl. No, I don't have to play into anybody's delusion, and these girls shouldn't be forced to play into that delusion as well.
We are forced to play into delusion. And then I do want to point out really quickly, and I'm sorry I don't have exact facts on hand, there was an arrest that day of the track meet, and it was somebody that is from the LGBTQ actually shoving a flag, a pride flag, into somebody else's car. So it was the opposite side that did do some violent act to somebody else at that track meet.
Well, I mean, not all LGBT whatever, alphabet folks are on board with it. And I think the other
that's why we want to have another guest to talk about that from their side, because they're not happy with this either.
Yeah. Another funny thing too is like they always talk about the left, like, it's a spectrum, and then like if LG, what's the third letter? B? What's that stand for? Oh yeah, bi meaning two. It's they just lump all these other woke things into this. Like, it's okay. Like, you want to be gay, that's fine. Be gay. Like, cool, whatever. But don't tell me I have to, like, all of a sudden appeal to your insanity. Like, I have to make you, I'm a woman. I'm a cat. You must refer to me as Mouses and Meowster.
And that was the whole thing when you mentioned about gay, because it was a whole thing about like gay men should be able to play in the NFL, be able to do all these things. There was nothing about them being gay that took away the rights to play in the NFL. Isn't that what we had fought for at one point? And so now it's like, why are we going so far off the map? At what point are you guys going to choose your battles and be like, that was completely different because there was nothing about being gay that made you not a good football player. But this is completely insanity.
Yeah, it's beyond. Look, it's state-sponsored gaslighting is what this is, and Newsom's
great way of putting it. I love that. That was a great way of putting that.
Yeah, Newsom's neck deep in it, and look, whether you remember this or not, but back in 2014, while Newsom was still lieutenant governor, he gave an interview saying that, and I quote, "We need to have a real conversation about preserving fairness in women's sports." Wow. But that clip's they hide that one. They bury that one because, don't forget, just a few years ago in 2021, 7 years after that comment, Newsom was signing bills that completely erased those same protections. So this ain't an evolution. It's a sellout, and so is he. And look, we're going to talk more about this sellout and all this stuff when we get back from our bottom of the hour break here on America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Sparkle Soojian today. We'll be right back.
Hey, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck, or van, even a motorcycle or an RV sitting around, you can right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus, we'll even come and pick up your car for free. And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of your vehicle. Help the vets and help your taxes at the same time. Call right now.
800-296-1259. 800-296-1259. 800-296-1259. That's 800-296-1259.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. I'm here to warn you about telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Some of these scammers may say threatening things like you will be arrested if you don't make payments or provide personal information. Do not fall for these tricks. These calls are not from us. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you for information or money. If you receive a call like this, hang up. Never give the caller your personal information, like your Social Security number or bank account, or send money in any form cash, gift cards, wire transfers, or prepaid debit cards. Report the call to our law enforcement arm, the Office of the Inspector General at oig.ssa.gov. Share this information with your friends and family.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
I will expose the corruption in Sacramento and hold these crooks accountable. I'm a businessman, a farmer, and an unapologetic fighter for California, and that's why I'm dangerous to them. We the people must take back control of our lives, our freedoms, our government.
Fight, fight, fight! We can turn California red again.
With action, with a movement.
We are just getting started.
I will expose the corruption in Sacramento and hold these crooks accountable. I'm a businessman, a farmer, and an unapologetic fighter for California, and that's why I'm dangerous to them. We the people must take back control of our lives, our freedoms, our government.
Fight, fight, fight! We can turn California red again.
With action, with a movement.
We are just getting started.
I will expose the corruption in Sacramento and hold these crooks accountable. I'm a businessman, a farmer, and an unapologetic fighter for California, and that's why I'm dangerous to them. We the people must take back control of our lives, our freedoms, our government.
Fight, fight, fight! We can turn California red again.
With action, with a movement.
We are just getting started.
All right, folks, we are back. I will expose the corruption
America
in Sacramento
and
hold these crooks accountable.
Today.
I'm a businessman, a farmer, and an unapologetic fighter for California, and that's why I'm dangerous to them.
Specifically,
we the people must take back control of our lives,
Donald
our
Trump
freedoms,
election,
our government.
Transgender in competition with girls, basically leaving these girls out of a ability to win in a competition that would otherwise be typically fair, and then missing out on opportunities like scholarships. And I mentioned before we went to break about, Newsom and his doublespeak and, talking about how he has to protect these women and all that stuff back in 2014. And then he passes laws in 2021 where it takes away those protections because, he's just a piece of crap. So look, Newsom's not doing this because he believes in it. He's doing it, okay, because the donor class for the Democrats, they demand it, right? It's the alphabet activist groups and the unions and the blue check elites, because they got that little blue check and they're somebody on the interwebs somewhere, not a bot. Couldn't be a bot, even though over 50% of internet traffic today is actually AI. Separate subject. But, look, they're just using Newsom as their spokesmodel, their spokesperson, whatever. And all the while, like I mentioned, these girls are losing out on scholarships. They're losing out on, medals, on good times, on safety, And Newsom just gets praise from the psycho leftist sycophants that, really wouldn't last 5 minutes in running wind sprints in that 90-degree heat there in Fresno this past weekend.
That's for sure.
So,
and what is the laws anyway, as far as all this goes? How long do you get to be a girl before you get to jump in on girls' sports? Is this like a month long? At what point can you start taking the hormones and say, I'm a girl now? I don't know what the rules are. Anybody know? Do we know what the rules are?
Well, CIF...
Or they keep changing, so we don't.
Well, CIF has rules, and it says that you don't have to take hormones or have surgery to be a girl, to compete.
Oh, so you could put on a dress tomorrow and you're a girl. Okay.
I mean, I guess. I mean, that'd be a really good question for somebody. It's like, you just wake up one day. Well, this is what they say. They're like, I woke up one day and I realized I wasn't a boy or I wasn't a girl and I was the other thing or I was a dog or whatever. But I'd realized in that moment that I'd always been. They say some dumb stuff like that. So look, let's now get Trump into the equation here, right? So the day after the race, Trump posts on Truth Social calling the situation here a national disgrace, saying that there will be no federal funding for schools that engage in this level of discrimination against our daughters. And I agree. There shouldn't be. And that was a post he made. And, well, that's the line in the sand. That's what you call that. And look, we know Trump has his critics, but when it comes to speaking plainly and calling out the lunacy, well, there's nobody else quite doing it. And he didn't hedge. He didn't hide behind legalese. And he said what every normal, American parent is thinking. This is insane, and this has to stop. But it's not just Trump. It's moms, it's dads, it's coaches, and guess what? Yeah, even some Democrat voters who are starting to whisper, this has gone a little bit too far.
Democrats have daughters.
Wow, right? Who'd have thunk it? But this is where it gets really dark, because when people, when they speak up, they're punished. The athletes are shamed, the teachers are suspended, parents get flagged as potential threats by their school boards. Remember that the dad in Virginia, who was tackled and arrested at a school board meeting after his daughter was assaulted in that gender neutral bathroom, God forbid he spoke up and spoke out for his daughter in that situation. Yeah, that's not ancient history. Okay. That was just a couple years ago in 2021. And the same system is alive and well right here in California. So this state has created a culture of silence, and it's enforced with the full weight and law of bureaucracy, of course, because that's how they hide behind all the nonsense. So let's paint this picture a little bit more clearly, right? You speak up against trans athletes in girls' sports, right? Makes you a bigot. Of course, because you are, according to them. And if you refuse to use the made-up words that they're calling their pronouns, well, you're creating a hostile environment, And if you post about it on social media, well, guess what? You're inciting hate. You might you might be getting investigated and paid a visit by some 3-letter agency or local department, right? Because you're such an evil person. But this is happening. You see this happen in other countries because they don't have the protections that we have here. But we are starting to see that take place here in this country, our very own country, where freedom of speech is supposed to be protected, where I thought women had rights.
Nope.
How do you think Susan B. Anthony would react to all this?
Oh my goodness. Just thinking about all of our, can you imagine what people would think if they were here? I mean, what would Albert Einstein say about this? I mean, all of our, they'd be like, what, do you want me to put out science for? I mean, they must be rolling in their graves just like, what is happening? Everything that everybody fought for. I mean, it's, yeah.
They're definitely putting I'd say they're putting on the entire gymnastics Olympics competition in their graves with all the lunacy that's going on in this country right now. But this is what happens when ideology replaces reality. I mean, look, you're in media, right, Sparkle? I mean, did they train you a certain way, to speak about these things, or you say no? I'm pretty sure we know the answer.
To get trained that one day that, someone could just, put on a dress and then and it's actually funny that this is talked about, because I have this, I don't know if it's a hater or admirer, I can't figure out which, but someone keeps getting my actual personal phone number that keeps dressing up as me, and they won't show me their face, and they keep on saying, want to be pretty, want to be just like you, and then they've been coming on all the my different social platforms saying stuff. And so there's this random guy that's becoming a female that's, when they send me pictures of them dressed as me, they make sure to show that there's an outline of their crotch to know that they were born a male. And I'm like, what is happening? And I keep on getting this weird harassment on that. And then they keep on going on my different platforms, because I do a lot of stuff for Castle Air Museum that has nothing to do with my show, that is just there for their YouTube channel. And they're going and putting stuff about me. And I'm like, and saying, oh, Sparkle, she's, one of, just weird stuff, just weird.
Have you considered calling the police?
Oh, I don't know who it is. How do you do that?
They got a phone number, right?
They keep sending me from different phone numbers. So I'll block the first number and they'll send next thing in the internet. You can get different
they're probably
number.
Getting some burner.
So
phone.
Yeah, they've been doing that, and it's just really. And this has been going on for about 8 months.
I still just call the police and let them know that you got a weird, creepy, harassing stalker. That's a whole separate.
That's amazing. But it's just that this is what we're dealing with in this culture. It's very bizarre.
But look, I mean, getting back to the fact that you've been in media, like you earned your spot. I mean, you cut your teeth writing for these magazines back in the day and pushing to get these interviews. I mean, that's what you've really emphasized your career all about.
Right.
Imagine, I mean, somebody else gets put ahead of you because, they're a guy. Well, they're a woman now.
Right, exactly.
And they're a guy, but they're a woman.
Right.
You have to respect that,
And how far is this going to go? Because now we have maternity leave and we have paternity leave now. So what do they get when they want their time off from work because their significant other had a child? Is it paternity leave or maternity leave? I'm really confused.
Well, hold on. Does adopting a puppy now count as paternity leave or maternity leave?
Right.
Just saying. They can always find ways to do that.
How deep does this go?
Well, how because that puppy might identify as a person.
Right? Doesn't the puppy have rights?
Right? And well, it's their puppy, and they have this connection. They can understand it better than anybody else. Or maybe their dogs or cats are.
Right. Well, we did actually have animal protective laws before we actually had child abuse laws. It's actually a thing. I wrote a thing about it before that, animal protection before child abuse.
Wow.
It's crazy the world that we live in, but I mean, it's also crazy that we're talking about this. Think about all the other issues, especially, you running for governor and all this stuff with water, all the stuff that we have. Why are we even talking about this? Isn't this like such a huge waste of time? Like, why is this an actual subject?
Yes, it is a giant waste of time. And it is a huge distraction because they're keeping us fighting amongst each other while the ruling elites are getting away with all the disgusting, despicable things like, I don't know, not releasing the Epstein client list.
Right.
For a start. Or, hiding that there's outside influences controlling our government from foreign powers and international banksters. And, well, there's a whole lot of other mess going on. But look, the reality is the ruling elites are
pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. Ouch! Well, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers. If you administer insulin 3 or more times per day or use an insulin pump, call now and learn how a CGM can help you.
Painless. No more pricking my finger.
No finger pricks.
Convenience. They delivered it free and they took care of all the paperwork.
You can reduce pain right away. Plus, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you spend more time in range. And if you have insurance, you can get a new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. Call now and get free shipping of your new CGM. Plus, we'll bill your insurance for you. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. 800-432-8150. That's 800-432-8150.
Talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, I remember you in the old days, Park Lane Mall, a kiosk. It's a lot different now, isn't it?
Man, that was a long time ago. In 1988, we've been blessed that we've been guided, and finally we have bought an amazing building across the street from the convention center. We found a better way to serve you. You know, we call it home. We managed to create amazing energy. And when we say welcome to the family, boy, we really mean it.
It is a family affair.
Absolutely. And we couldn't have done it without our wonderful customers who believed in us for all of 27 years. So I'm here to really say thanks to all of our wonderful family members who we started as customers, who now we know each other's children's and grandchildren.
All those years ago, a little kiosk in Park Lane Mall. Park Lane Mall's not there anymore, but you are still here.
Yeah, we have solidified our future by buying this beautiful building on Virginia Street. So we're there to serve you.
Thank you, Victor. Precision Diamonds, your local jeweler across from the convention center.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky, and joining me today is Sparkle Soojian. We've been talking about this transgender issue in regards to what's been happening up in Clovis, as I mentioned earlier, in the post-Trump victory era, where there are two genders exclusively, and we have to have this constant battle for some reason on protecting those sports segregated by sex and nothing else. Maybe ability level, but sex and ability levels. I think those are good things right there to create a fair playing ground, right? Wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely.
So we talked about how basically California has sold out girls' sports, and Trump's fired back with his, well, we're just going to go ahead and cut that funding to any school that's on board with that. I'm happy for that. I hope to see it come to fruition. I know when Trump puts his mind to something, he usually gets it done. But look, and if they're lying to us again and getting us to lie to each other and convince ourselves that something as basic as, male and female, right? They can get us to be confused on the most simplest of things. Well, they can basically get us to do anything. And it's not about fairness, okay? It's all about obedience, all right? And the first step is control the language. So gender becomes a vibe, man. And fairness, well, that's a weapon. They'll bash you over the head with that word as many times as it takes, because if you speak out against it, guess what? That's hate speech. And that's anything that challenges their system, right? Hate speech. That's what they do. So once they rewrite the words and they rewrite reality, and you try to resist, they just censor you. Talked about this with Mark Zuckerberg and his platform of censorship, because big tech ain't neutral. All right? They're an enforcement arm of all of this. Posts that biological males have advantage in sports. Guess what? Shadow banned. Questioning puberty blockers? Demonetized. You share a video of girls crying after losing to a male athlete? Well, that's getting restricted for harassment there, buddy. And it's not just online. It's in the schools too. Because in LA Unified, they're teaching kids there in 5th grade that biological sex is a quote unquote, and I'm not making this crazy crap up, a colonial construct. Okay?
That's wild, really.
A colonial, because white people are so evil and all that, and the colonizers. It's a colonial. This is crazy. The colonial construct. That's a real quote. Paid with your taxes. How about that? And what's even worse is that in multiple California districts, schools are hiding gender changes from parents, and it's the law. Okay. So in places like Chico, Escondido, hell, even here in LA. I mean, let me bring Sparkle in for a second. You went through California schools, right? You trained with women athletes. Mm-hmm. You worked in media and entertainment.
What does it feel like watching this top-down control take place where they're just overseeing everything from classrooms to competitions?
It's absolutely wild. I mean, we also had the Oscars where there was, a transgender male that was getting up, for playing a female and all this stuff. We have so much. It's gotten so widespread that I feel like there's no awards that are going to be left for me to actually genuinely win anymore.
Well, because you wouldn't be as special as that brave
Right,
transgender
exactly.
person, right?
And then I'm really worried about, think about the boy that's almost as good as like the best boy, and then they're not that good. So they're like, okay, I'll become a female so I can be in a league of my own where I could beat all these people. And you see this girl, I know we have to use her name. I wish we didn't. I don't like that we're even bringing a lot of light to that, but I'm worried about other people thinking, oh, I'll just do that. And look at all the attention she's getting. And she's brave and she's a warrior, because that's what they're saying, that she's a she and she's all these things. So I'm worried about all the other guys that are going to see this, start doing this, go do these things, maybe become a man in their actual life because they were never really that committed to it. And then all of this goes away. They just go and become the male they were always born to be. And then they've ruined all of this in their wake.
That's sort of what the definition of a psychopath sounds like. Because a psychopath is somebody that will stop at nothing to achieve their goal and has no emotions or feelings towards who they hurt in the process. So those are actually psychopathic tendencies here. And these psychopaths are being promoted by other psychopaths that are the same folks telling, girls to sit down and shut up. These are the same people running our elections. The same ideology that says biology is offensive. And, well, guess what? They control our voter rolls, our ballot procedures, our censorship regimes that really shouldn't exist. It's not 5 different problems. It's one big problem. Let me ask you this, Sparkle. You're seeing people, even liberals, start to question this stuff. And, are folks waking up? Or are they still afraid to say what they really think? Or are they coming out and they're saying it now?
I think they're saying it, but I don't know what it's doing, because everybody in Clovis spoke up and said, no, we do not want this here. And then there was banners flying, boys, and there was it was a show. It was definitely a display. And what happened? She still got, he, whatever it is, got to be on the podium and got to get those goals. So I don't know. We are talking, but what's happening? I mean, talk is cheap. What are we doing about it? Why can't you just be governor tomorrow and fix this?
Well, because unfortunately there's a process that we have to abide by.
Here's a process. Okay, well, we'll abide by this process, but everything else just gets,
Well, this is, we gotta uphold those. We have to have some sort of structure in our society, but who knows how much longer that'll last until they decide no more elections and you're a racist if you vote the other side. I mean, they've already determined that we're racist for being on the opposite end. But it's all about fear, okay? Because they want the fear. Because the fear leads to control. All right. And, don't forget, a lot of these people that were probably in support of the transgender person were probably paid protesters. Think about all the paid protesters that we saw during, the BLM riots. And all that crap. All of a sudden, like, these U-Haul trucks show up and they're just passing out these pre-made signs to all these people. It's all political theater. It's all the world's a stage. You ever heard that saying? All the world's a stage. Well, folks, you're living in the most clown show circus performance in history. We're living through it, and it's beyond. So they don't want you to speak up. That's why they that's the whole control mechanism that they're going for right here. And look, we've talked about this A.B. Hernandez, and the Clovis track, controversy. But, let's stop and ask, what happens if we don't fight this? What happens if we keep letting this slide, right? Well, it's pretty simple. The girls lose. Women's rights. All for what? Just to be usurped by men again, right? The whole thing that the feminists are pushing it's so oxymoronical. I can't get past it. But it's not just the track meets, okay? They lose the scholarships. They lose their identity. They lose their safety. And a whole generation of young people raised to think that truth is hate. That's crazy. There's no fairness. There will be no free speech. And no reality. You'll just live in total compliance to their woke machine. But let's picture the other side. Where we pass laws that protect girls' sports and define biological sex in competition, which I can't believe we have to do, which is the most asinine concept in the whole world, is that we actually have to set this pen to paper because for some reason we couldn't just have, we did figure it out, but we've decided to unlearn it with Marxism. How about we fire the bureaucrats that are enforcing this insanity? We pass laws that protect girls' sports and define biological sex and competition. I mean, the fact that we even have to have this written down in paper like that, I think it's so asinine. We had this, right? We had this figured out, right? For, I don't know, the last at least 20,000 years of recorded human history. I think we kind of figured it out. It was like the unspoken thing we just kind of all agreed on, but then Marxism helped unlearn all that. We have to fire the bureaucrats that are enforcing this insanity. And don't forget, it's those bureaucrats that make up more bullcrap to keep them employed. So the bureaucrats are the ones pushing this because they don't care. They're a bunch of psychopaths anyways. So we got to fire the bureaucrats enforcing all this crap. We give the parents their voice back, which I can't believe they even gave up in the first place. The truth. The ones that should be humiliated are the ones that are pushing these lies and these false narratives that they've been indoctrinated to believe. You've got to stand up for something. But look, that's the kind of California I'm fighting for. Okay? And let's be very clear. This fight, it started a while ago, but it's kicking into high gear right now. No doubt about that. And we don't have to wait for 2026, Sparkle. We don't have to wait that long. Okay? We got to start this now by flipping the school boards and showing up in town halls. And if we got to organize and we got to speak, we definitely got to vote. And we got to recruit people that have the same feelings that might not be brave enough to on their own yet. They need that nudge. They need to know that you're not alone, that we can do this together. And there's other people out there just like you, just like me. I feel the same way. We need to do this like our lives depend on it. All of it, okay? They're scared, and that's why they censor you. That's why they lie, okay? And if you show up, and they know this, if you show up, we're going to win. You're going to win, okay? This is why it's so important. We have to do this. So, any quick final thoughts here before we wrap things up?
I think it's funny that my whole life, I've been the Armenian, the girl, the short one. I've always been a minority my whole life. And now I'm a minority yet again for actually being born with an actual vagina. I'm a minority in my own sex. I'm like, wait, does it ever end? Do I ever get to be like, okay, I'm winning now? Like, can I just have a win? Like, when is that going to happen?
Well, when we bring normalcy back, okay? Look, the time for silence is over, all right? I don't care what they call me. I don't care what they write. I'm not in this for a career, okay? I'm in this to save our state and to save this country. I don't need this job. So we're going to bring back common sense. We're going to expose the lies. And we're going to make damn sure that no little girl ever gets pushed off a podium again just to please some woke committee, all right? Look, this is your state. These are your kids. And this is our fight. I'd love for you to help me. Please go to leozacki.com to help you get involved and join the fight. Take back California. Thanks for tuning into America Matters here on Zacky Radio. I'm Leo Zacky. Thank you so much, Sparkle Soojian, for joining me. We'll see all of you next time.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.